Well, first of all, the question really is, are you investing, or are you saving, or are you speculating? If you're a saver, you're not really investing or taking a risk on a company. You're converting a weak property to a strong property. If you're an investor, you have to have at least a 4-year time horizon. Okay, if you're investing in something thinking you'll make money in 4 weeks, you're not really an investor, you're a speculator. Now, if you don't know what you're doing and you're guessing, you're just betting on black or red, I call that speculation. If you have a methodology, if you have computer programs and you have proprietary algorithms and you have special information that no one else has, you can call yourself a trader, right? Maybe you're a trader, but either way, you're a trader or you're a speculator, but you're not really an investor. Okay. Because if you're an investor, you have a thesis that's going to take years to play out. So I would say that if you're looking at something as an investor and you're not going to hold it for 4 years, you're just speculating, you're gambling over whether the EPS will beat the numbers that the street expects next Tuesday, right? And nobody knows, it's coin flip. When you're buying Bitcoin, if you understand it, I don't think you're investing and I don't think you're speculating. I think you're saving. And if you're saving, you're thinking, I'm going to buy it for a decade. And what I would say to people is, if you're not going to hold it for a decade, for 10 years, I wouldn't even hold it for 10 minutes. I think the right way to think of it is, if there's money you need in the next 12 months, probably should store it in a currency, like a stable currency. If I live in Korea and I have rent coming due in Korean won, then I would hold some cash balances in Korean won. If I have money that I wish to save and give to my grandchildren, 10 to 30 years out, or even 100 years out, I want to keep it in my family, then you should be putting it into a portfolio of property. Scarce desirable assets. So property, what is it? Bitcoin is digital property. Otherwise, buy the most valuable land, or you might buy trophy collectibles. Leonardo da Vinci paintings, Picasso, something that is rare and desirable and scarce. If you buy a portfolio of property that is, it's not a company, it's not a currency, it's something that affluent people will find desirable in 10 to 30 years, then that's a saving strategy. If you wish to take risk, if you wish to invest in companies, you're an investor. Now you might decide that you think that Apple is undervalued or Google is going to perform well, or you might invest in a private company. Okay, well, the advantage of those things is they generate cash flows, but the disadvantage is they have risk. So if you want to take that risk, you can, but it's not the same as owning a city block in downtown Seoul. So my answer to anybody would be, don't check the price of it every minute if you're a saver. I think everything's smoother. I think that if you notice, this year we had Coinbase there. I said they're up to 73 million customers now. They added 25 million customers in a year. Lots of institutional accounts, an avalanche of institutional accounts, and an avalanche of money. We had an investment bank, Jefferies. We had a commercial bank, Silvergate. I think we see a lot more companies coming in the space. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that Bitcoin is first going to flip gold, and when it flips gold, it should be about a $500,000 asset. But I think Bitcoin is also going to replace bond indexes and real estate and other sorts of property investments. And I think there's no reason why it shouldn't go to $100 trillion. That would be $5 million a coin. So I definitely think it'll happen. The question is really just over what time frame. I guess when I first left school, I remember when I was at MIT, fraternity brothers, he graduated and got a job, and he came back and he parked a Porsche in the driveway of our fraternity house. I looked down at the car and I thought, oh, it would take like 10 years of hard work and savings, and I still might not be able to afford that car. I thought, if I could ever afford a car like that, then I will have made it. And then I graduated, got a job, and I bought a used car, and I drove that to the fraternity house, and I thought I had arrived. I think when I first started investing, I got very interested in technology companies. So I invested in Amazon and Apple and Facebook and Google and some of the internet companies. And I suppose I got interested in them after my company came public. I was always a big tech enthusiast. From the point that I had money to invest, which is after my company came public in '98, I had investments in tech companies, but I got to be pretty heavily invested around between 2008 and 2010. When I wrote The Mobile Wave, I saw that the world was going to transform into companies with 1 billion customers like Amazon and Facebook and Google and Apple. And I thought, if you can have a digital network with 1 billion customers and you can ship a product or a service down that network via electricity, then that's an unstoppable competitive advantage. So I concluded, Amazon was going to defeat the 10,000 smallest retailers because they had one storefront and they could upgrade their storefront instantly every minute of the day. And that's impossible for a physical bricks and mortar store to come. And the same is true with Apple, where if you have a device in 1 billion people's hands and you ship a product to it over the weekend, nobody can compete with that. No one else can ship a product to 1 billion people over the weekend for a nickel. Those are pretty unstoppable franchises at that point. I saw Amazon fall 95%, more than 95%. So I was pretty used to that. I saw Amazon fall 95%. I've seen lots of volatility. I saw it fall 80%. I think the best investment ideas in the last 30 years, they're dominant digital monopolies that everybody needs, nobody can stop. A few people understand. And Amazon was like that. Apple is like that. Google is like that. Facebook is kind of like that, and Bitcoin is like that. Yes. They all have the same characteristic. Few people understand it. When few people understand it, but everybody needs it and no one can stop it, that's when to invest. You could say today, everybody kind of understands that they need Apple and Google and Facebook and YouTube and Amazon. They understand it today. So those aren't so good investments anymore, because once a few 100 million people agree with you, you're not early. So people disagreed on Apple and Amazon a decade ago, and they're good investments, and they went up a factor of 20 from there. And people disagree on Bitcoin today, which is why it's a good investment, because if all of the issues were worked out, then it would already be 30, 40, 50 times more expensive, and it wouldn't be controversial, but you would lose 97% of your wealth.